Hi everyone, this is Anjanette from AJ's Personal Touch. Let me get the volume up on my laptop here and hopefully it will record me louder if I do that. I can't talk loud because I am in a load of pain. Um, I came on to do an update because I know, and I'm sorry about the glare behind me. It's 11:09 a.m. I just got home from the doctor's office. Um, But anyway, I know there are a few of you who've been worried that I may have had a heart attack from the symptoms that I described last week. And I wanted to make sure that I got on here as soon as I could and let you know that as far as my heart is concerned, I am 100% okay. Um, I went to the ER yesterday. I had called the doctor's office on a Friday, and he knows, he's been my doctor for over 20 years, so he knows my health history. And I was very, very explicit with my details. My husband gets so upset when I get explicit with my details because he thinks I can shorten it a lot. Um, but anyway, I thought, because I didn't hear back from him, that he thought that everything was okay, and that I would probably get in to see him this week if things didn't get any better. But I got a phone call yesterday morning from his new nurse. She's brand new, and they're very, very, very short-handed. And she had been out for a couple days last week, and she's the one who returns messages, I guess, now. And she didn't even see my message that I left on Friday until yesterday morning. She called me before the office even opened, and he was like, "You need to get checked out by the ER if you're still having issues. If you're not, then don't worry about it. But if you are, get to the ER." Um, I was exhausted. I had had a really, really bad night and I couldn't sleep. And my husband had worked a double. So I opted to get some more sleep before I left because I really thought that all I had was a pinched nerve. Even though the pain had started to move to other areas and get bad. Like right now, I can't talk, but it still feels like tight muscles. And now that I found out what it is, it makes sense. Um, but getting back to the ER visit, sometimes I really cannot stand the ER, especially when it comes to having chronic pain. I don't know if this happens to those of you who do not have chronic pain issues. But for those of us who do, lots of times we go in and it's like their ears close and they do not listen to anything you have to say, whether or not you know your condition and what you're going through or not. Part of my issue right now is I'm having what I'm calling a mini flare with my chronic pancreatitis. Um, the procedure that I have done when I have a flare, especially when it's a bad flare, is already scheduled for next month because now instead of calling when I get a flare to go in and get my brain doesn't want to work, a pain block. And my pain blocks are they do it in a Scott. My brain knows the word, I can't say it. Or they go in the tube in your throat, endoscopy. And then when they're in the stomach, they used the X-ray and they place shots from the inside of your stomach. It is so much better than the one I had done through my back, which gave me debilitating pain. It felt like they had punctured my lung. It was so bad. Um, and that was done here at home, and I never let them touch me for anything like that here at home. I always go down to Indianapolis now for any of that stuff because they have never once hurt me like they have done here on a number of occasions. Anyway, I digress. Went into the ER, told them what was going on and explaining it in full detail. And my husband is like, "Well, just tell him he told them her chest hurts. She's having chest pain. I'm like, yes, but it's more involved than just that I'm having chest pain. And I explained how I was tired and I would fall asleep at a drop of a hat. Um, I've been falling asleep crocheting. I have not been able to crochet. The only thing I did was what I just showed you in that little 6-minute little blip, when I made my daughter that cozy. I have not made anything else because it hurts to sit and crochet. I have tried to work on the baby blanket for my great niece, and it hurts. And now there's something wrong on the border again, and I got to figure it out because I did try to work on it when I didn't feel good. So I'm going to rest again today. But they did blood work. They were going to put an IV in me and decided not to because I got really, really tiny veins. And they needed to use a large needle for what they thought might be happening. They thought I might have a blood clot because my EKG came out fine. My heart is beating fine. Everything is fine. I did have an elevated blood pressure for a little bit, but that's due to pain. Normally I'm spot on. My numbers are perfect. But when they're elevated, it's normally because I'm going through quite a bit of pain. Um, so they were a little elevated. The second one he took was better. EKG, like I said, came out in flying colors. Um, so they did blood work. They were looking for an enzyme that happens when you get a blood clot. And they run it through twice. They run it through right away, and then they run it through like either half an hour later to see if it has developed in your blood during that time, I guess. Kind of like a culture. And both came out fine. And I can't believe I'm using the word fine because I'm so irritated by that word right now. The the male nurse that I had, was amazing. He was my silver lining in yesterday. He was amazing. He listened to everything I had to say. He listened to the fact that I had a flare up. If it was up to him, I'm sure he would have given me some pain meds. I didn't even get to broach the subject with the doctor, because after the blood work was done, the doctor came in to finally see me. So after I'd been sitting there for an hour and a half, I finally saw the doctor. And I already knew who it was. We had asked who the doctor on duty was when we came in, something I haven't learned to do because I have met most of them around here. And it's one that I had had a bad experience with before, but I tried not to dwell on that. New day. He may have had a bad day that day. New day, new experience. Everything was going to be fine. He was going to help me. And when I left there, I was going to know what was wrong with me and everything would be great. I need a big fail button in front of my face right now. And if I had if I had the energy to do it, I would figure out how to edit this and put one right in front of my face right now. Going bzz, bzz, fail. Um, my baby's crying over here. Anyway, I think she wants me to sit back so she can jump up. Anyway, he finally came in. He sat down at the end of the bed, keeping distance, even though I had a mask on and everything, keeping a lot of distance. And said my EKG came back flying colors, like I already knew. The nurse told me it was fine, but as my husband told me, he didn't tell me it was fine. He said it looked good. But as my husband told me, he said even if it was really, really bad, they'd probably tell me that just to not get me upset. So I was like, well, yeah. But I tended to believe him because you can usually tell when somebody is reading something bad unless he had a really, really great poker face. But he had said it looked good, or that it looked okay. Whatever, he said. And then, but the doctor said he said the EKG was fine. And then he said my blood work was fine, and they ran it through twice and it was fine. My pancreas was fine because I did tell them that I was having a flare, and that everything looked fine. He had me so upset that if I heard the word fine one more time, I was ready to beat somebody. So when the nurse came in to help me to put the sides of the bed down and everything, and to help me and tell me to, get dressed, and he was like, everything looks, and I said, you say the word fine, I am going to get upset. He said, everything looks great. And we told him, and he was like, yeah, he gets it. Anyway, this said doctor, yes, all of that was fine, which was great, which meant my heart was great. No blood clot. Those are the two main things that you want to go and you want to make sure that don't happen. So yes, all of that was a great news. But he said, okay, it's time for you to go. He never took his stethoscope out. He never used it. He never got close enough to even touch me. So as far as I'm concerned, he still didn't do his job, because how it used to be when you went to the ER, and I know it's still this way for some people, but ever since I become a chronic pain patient, this does not happen for me anymore. I get a lot of the staying back, not touching, not feeling around, unless it's a really good doctor. Now, I have had some really great ER doctors, but they're the minority now instead of the majority, which is really sad, or at least around here. If I go down to Indy, I don't think I've had a bad ER doctor anytime I've been in the ER down there, which was a couple times. Um, anyway, he never touched me, never nothing. It was like, okay, I'm going to have the nurse come in, you can sign the release and you can go. I'm not fine. I'm not feeling good. I can barely breathe. I'm still falling asleep at a drop of a hat. He did not check me out to figure anything else out. So, 8 o'clock this morning, I made sure I got up. Actually, more, 8:15. Because I couldn't get my butt up at 8. Called my doctor. Made an appointment to get in for 10:15. Within maybe 10 minutes of our conversation, most of it was listening to the symptoms and everything. Him watching me, which he's very good at. I had where I hurt and I was going like this with my hand, and he was like, do you always do that when you get the pain? And I was like, it's automatic for me, so yeah, I think so. I described to him how the pain was, how it started off sharp, like a paring knife or somebody with a needle just taking it and twisting it and being mean, like right on top of my left breast area. But that it has moved and has traveled from like here and over here. So he did a full physical, had me lay back and felt all around the breast area and everything, all around my heart, feeling around, and he knew what was wrong with me. By the end of the touching and my responses, I hurt in certain areas. He said it's a path. It's like taking a path, and the path that it is taking is the area, if you know anatomy at all, in your ribs where your the my head's gonna hold on a second. I wrote my friend what I had, and it's in, and my brain just totally lost it all. Okay, it's where your costals are on your ribs. if you're familiar with your rib cage, now you have the rib cage that comes around, and then you have your breastbone in the front, which is a bone, but then you have, which on every other part of your body you would have tendons and ligaments, but here you have cartilage, and then where it attaches to the bone, you have little joints, and they're called costals. And what happened is my costal areas, because that's the path he followed, and that's where it hurt, and that's where I'm going like this at, they're inflamed. So I have what's called costal chondritis. Um, so yeah, here I'm taking 15 minutes to tell you all this, but yeah, that's how I am. I'm detailed like that. But anyway, so it hurts to breathe in deep. And he said it's something that takes a long time to get rid of because of the fact you can't stop breathing. Although my husband, who was sitting next to me, he was like, "Oh, well, we can take care of that." And my doctor knows my husband's sense of humor by now, and he just laughed and he said, "Yeah, but that's not the way to take care of it." He said, "Although it would work." Um, it's nice to have somebody who jokes and stuff with me like that, because even though other people take offense to some of the things he says, it's just funny. It's just downright funny sometimes. And you need that in these situations, and he knows that. I need humor to help me get through some of this. So if any of you guys took offense to what he said, he did not mean it in a bad way, and I wouldn't have told you about it if he did. Um, anyway, so they're laughing about that and that, but the doctor said, unfortunately, there's not much we can do. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to heal. I've already had a week, but it seems to be getting worse right now, not healing because it's the beginning stages. He said they really have no idea why it starts. I asked them, I had a bad car accident back in 2011. He said, no, if it would have been that, it probably would have happened at the time. Because since he likened it to arthritis, I didn't know if it was something that would develop. And he said, no, it's usually something that either something happened to cause it or it can just come out of the blue. Sometimes, like when people have bronchitis and they cough really, really hard, they end up with costal chondritis. I had once where I broke a rib because I coughed really hard, but um, I don't think I've had quite this before. Or maybe I have and we just didn't pick it up. Although if I would have had this pain, I would have went and got checked out like I did to see if it was a heart attack. I'm sure this is my first time with this. Um, anyway, because of my stomach issues, I can't take the anti-inflammatories, so I can't take ibuprofen and all of those. So yeah, I can take Tylenol, but Tylenol really isn't effective because it's not an anti-inflammatory, which it's funny because somebody had told my husband that it was. So my husband keeps on thinking that he knows something. So he's like, "Oh yeah, take your Tylenol. It's an anti-inflammatory." And I was like, no, ibuprofen and all the NSAIDs, those are anti-inflammatories, and that's why they hurt the inner lining of your stomach. Something else that some of you may not know about me, especially if you didn't watch my video that tells you about my illness, and like all about my sickness and my illnesses. It was a pretty long video. Um, but when I told you guys about me being HIV positive, I went to pharmacy school. So, I took my class where I had to learn about the meds, where we had the flashcard that said the name of the meds and the regular dosage and that. And I'm like, acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. I told them it's a pain reducer. At least that's the only thing that it said at that point in time. I said, now it may have a little bit of anti-inflammatory response. I'm not saying it doesn't. Um, it might have a little. So I'll take my Tylenol. I can't take pain meds because my body is so anti-pain med is the way I look at it. I have taken so many pain meds in my life that my body just does not like them. Um, I am one of those people, I will never have to worry about being addicted to pain meds, which I guess is a good thing, because my body just doesn't like taking them. I know I have a pain pump, and my pain pump is what's helping me live. But if I was taking the medicine that's in my pump orally, it wouldn't work. They tend not to. When I was in the hospital the one year having all the different surgeries, I was on so many different pain meds and on a high dose. I didn't even realize how high of a dose I was on. I came home and I watched the show that used to be a huge show. I don't know if they still show it anymore. Sorry, my eyes are bothering me today. And plus the sunlight. Um, what was it called? Intervention. When I was laid up in bed, I would watch. I am very good at taking a show and just, I can't think of the word of what it's called, watching it from beginning to end. Hoarding. Anyway, um, I know the word. My brain just isn't, as I've already said, it's not there today. Um, but I would sit and watch shows from beginning to end. So I sat and I watched, I don't know. I wasn't really on the TV that I could do that with because I was in my bedroom. But I would put it on the channel that Intervention would come on, and they'd have like full days where it was just back to back episodes of Intervention. And I would watch them. And when I saw some of the people take some of the meds that I was on, and they're like, that's such a high dose, and if they continue like that, they're going to die. And when I actually saw a couple where a friend of theirs had passed away and they had been taking as much fentanyl as I had in my patches, although I know they were ingesting it, although some of them were putting it on as patches. I, at one point in time, had like a 75, I can't remember if they're milligram or micrograms, a 75 patch on one side and then like a 50 on the other because I was in so much. Um, I developed after having my revision of my gastric bypass, which was just them redoing it. I ended up with an ulcer that encompassed the whole inside of my pouch because wasn't called stomach anymore. It's called a pouch, but the entire lining, and I was in so much pain. They wanted to go in and cut it out, but I had so much scar tissue that when he tried to do that, he said it was like going in blind, and he wasn't going to do that because he could end up cutting somewhere where he shouldn't be, taking out too much stomach, which would have been really, really bad since I only had a little tiny pouch as it was. So he just closed me back up and decided to put me on pain management. And I needed so much pain medication that meant being in the hospital for, he was hoping a couple weeks, but it ended up a month and a half on such high doses of pain meds because he needed to keep the pain down so that I didn't suffer and so I could move and talk and everything, and so that my body could heal. Because when your body is in so much pain, it just goes zzz, 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 and it will not heal. So he had to keep the pain down in order to let my body heal. And I think that was my worst time in the hospital at all. And then being so far away and my husband not being able to be there and driving back and forth to see me as much as he could, it was just terrible. And I was so out of it. The one time that my daughter did come and see me, she was just like, she didn't come again because she didn't want to see me like that. So, yeah, it was a bad time in my life. And I'm just very glad that it's over. Do not want to revisit it ever if I do not have to. So, with all of that said, I did not have a heart attack. My heart is fine. I do not have a blood clot. Everything is fine. Um, Another main worry for that is my grandpa on my mom's side died of a massive heart attack. My grandmother, she rest in peace, I was very close to. I'm not gonna cry. Passed away of a stroke. She was like my mom to me. We were very close. Close enough that my grandma was of the day and age that, you know, you called your elders. If you wanted to talk to somebody, you would pick up the phone and call your elders, but they didn't call you. Um, my mom would tell me all the time, you need to call your grandma. You haven't talked to her. And I just felt so bad. I couldn't do it. I couldn't talk on the phone very long. I just had a hard time with the phone. I wouldn't even pick it up. Um, my grandma would call me to see how I was doing. My mom about fainted the first time she heard that my grandma called me because that just was unheard of. Um, but my grandma loved me so much and she knew I couldn't call her. She picked up the phone and called me to see how I was doing and would have a normal conversation with me. And one of the reasons being is that I used to, every Thursday when I got off work at the chiropractor's office, I gave massages. I had my own office and then I also worked for a local chiropractor. Um, every Thursday, sometimes Tuesdays as well, on my way home with my Bluetooth in my ear, I would call my grandma, see how her day was, see how she was doing, and she was my driving companion on my way home every Tuesday and Thursday. At least always every Thursday, but lots of Tuesdays as well. So we kept in touch. And that was my way of being able to spend time with her because at the time my daughter was young and that she lived, I mean, it wasn't like a long ways away, but she lived about a half an hour away, which was hard to, go and visit when you have a little one and you're working and you have hours that are, you may give a massage in the morning and then you have to go pick her up from school and then go back and give another massage, or be there for her when she got off the bus or whatever it was. So it cut down on the time that I used to be able to go and spend time and see my grandma. And when I went to school, I always passed by where her house was every time I went to or came home from college. So I would stop and see her every time. And usually it was always I'd stop and see her on the way home from college, and then I would stop and see her on my way back to college, unless it was late at night. If it was after 8 o'clock, I just passed by, and she knew that I would stop on, the other way, or I would call her, see how she is, or whatever. My grandma meant the world to me. My grandma meant the world to my brother. We were all close to my grandma, and it was the worst thing in the world. It was the night of my, it was the night of my 25th um, school reunion that she passed, or that she had her stroke. She didn't pass for like another week, but she never came back to being her. But I spent every night in the hospital. She was found the next day by my brother who lived across the street from her. They saw her light, that it was still on, and she always, if she, she would leave her light on all night long, and she always turned it off by noon at the latest. And it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they knew something was wrong. They found her on the couch. She hadn't even made it to bed the night before. My mom had been there with her the night before, and they had left when the news came on. So that was about 10 o'clock. And because she watched, we have a 10 o'clock version and 11 o'clock, depending on what channel you watch. She would watch the 10 o'clock one, even though she preferred the people on the 11 o'clock, because she wanted to go to bed by 11. She had pulled back her bed covers before my parents left, and she never made it into bed. So was on her love seat, which she never sat on. Just makes me wonder what hell she went through. But anyway, that was a bad time, and memories of it still haunt me. Anytime I'm in the place where we went to after the graduation, we went to this little bar, which was only a mile away from where my grandma lived. Um, my grandma had moved after her husband, my step grandpa, after he passed away, and she was still a good 15, 20 minutes away from where I lived, but not the half hour, 45 minutes that it could be where the other house she lived in. Anyway, yeah, my brother and nephew found her, and I spent every night in that hospital with her. They moved her to hospice. It was a Sunday that she got put in. I was not well, but I stayed every night. I sat in a chair next to her bed and held her hand at night and slept with my forehead on her arm. She knew I was there because when we did get her to kind of talk, grunt, and that, she knew I was there, which meant the world to me. My mom ended up staying one night, like towards the end. She had said she was going to stay there, but she just wasn't. She physically, there was no way she could have done it. Everybody knew there was no way they were budging me. It wasn't happening. And my mom said it was compensating for not seeing my grandma. And I was, because I couldn't drive then. That was like the second year into when I couldn't drive, and my grandma knew that. And my mom was like, well, your daughter can take you. Well, my daughter was at school and she was working, and my grandma knew that as well. And that's why she called me, which is where this started. Um, Thank you for letting me go down memory lane. If you're still here, thank you. If you're not, then at least I got to release something that I needed to release. Um, and on that note, I need to go and put my jammies on, and I'm going to rest. Um, I am hurting sitting like this for one, and I'm feeling very constricted, and I just want to lay down and just take my muscle relaxers, and which help me a little bit, and get some rest. I do want to crochet. I miss crocheting. So maybe after I get a little bit of rest, I can get up and crochet a little bit later. So, but I wanted to let you guys know what was going on. Plus I have to be up later to do something online, on my list that I've told you about that I'm on for American Pain and Disability Association. I am running a secret Cupid. Um, they call it a game, but it's not really a game. But I'm doing a secret Cupid thing there where we're going to send each other, for those who sign up, we're going to send each other a gift, not tell each other who we are, and reveal, after they get their gift. Um, but yeah, that's what's going on right now. Yeah, okay. Sorry, my brain is again going. I will probably tape soon. I don't think I have anything coming in. But I do have a couple of crochet alongs that I'm going to participate in. And speaking of the secret Cupid, because I wasn't feeling well and everything, I did want to bring it to the channel to see if maybe you guys would want to do that. So tell me if you would be interested in doing something like that, where I have people send me their names and addresses, and that I match you up with somebody and set an amount, for whatever the gift should be, or we could do it the way we do on this list. You can make an Amazon wish list, and I can give the links for the Amazon wish list and I could send that to somebody, you know, but I would find a way to match people up. If you're interested in something like that, let me know. I mean, I know I don't have a lot of people right now who comment and everything, but leave that in the comment below. If you've gotten this far, I will try to I will make myself a note for in a video to talk about it again, to see if you guys would like to do a Secret Pal. Maybe for March, maybe we can do Secret Shamrock. You know, put a price limit of, like I did for this one in my group, the price limit is $10 before shipping. Because I used to always do everything on here where they give you an amount and say, well, that's after shipping. Well, people took so many big, I can't think of the word, they took advantage of that and would buy like a $5 product and say, oh, well, the shipping is 3 something, so that's close to, I couldn't get anything closer. And that was a bunch of hooey as far as I was concerned. I happen to have Prime, so I can usually get a $10 item and it's going to ship free. And almost everybody in that group has it, but I know not everybody does. So now I'm just like, you know, $10 item plus shipping. So that makes it like the minimum comes around $15 that you'll spend. Because I want to make sure everybody gets a nice gift and not something that's only, you know, like $5 that, you know, may not be the nicest gift in the world. So, the only reason why I'm thinking of here, like not Amazon, is because Amazon, their prices for yarn, if you have not looked, are way out there. One person can sell it at the regular retail price, but then their shipping and handling is through the roof. And then other people, for a little skinny yarn that you would normally, like, say cotton, I'll use sugar and cream as an example, or sugar and it's peaches and cream. Peaches and cream is an example. Peaches and cream is usually like $1.59 regular price, if I remember right, off the top of my head. And if you would look up that, or sugar and spice, I think that's what that one is. If you look them up, they have some of them going for $13, depending on the colorway. And if it's an old colorway or if it's a new colorway, you might be spending $3 to $4 for it. So you have to be really, really careful on Amazon. What I do is I tend to search for $5 and under. And sometimes they'll have something like under 5, but almost everything is above 5. So keep that in mind. So if you'd want to do something, but we could also do like, instead of Amazon, if everybody would want to do this, we could do like a We Crochet. My brain wish list on We Crochet. And I think you can share them on there. I know I share them with my daughter, but I know I've actually given her my password information in that. But I think you can. I think you can share it with the link. And like do it through there. But the thing with We Crochet is some of their stuff is a little high priced. Not everything. I mean, their yarn, one of my favorite acrylics come from there, which is Brava, which is 3 something a skein. You know, so we could set it at, say, $20. You know, you could get a couple skeins of yarn, you know, on their cotton or their Brava or, you know, or some of their others. So think about it and let me know if you want to do something like that. And like I said, I need to write that down to mention it again in a shorter video, so it's not at the end of a long video. And yeah, that's just how my brain works. I think of what I want to ask sometimes at the end because I have something else on my mind. And this was only supposed to be I figured about a 15-20 minute video, and we are now going on 40 minutes. So it is twice as long as I wanted. So I need to go. I need to lay down. My throat is starting to hurt because I have to be careful of how much pressure I use when I talk. So have a wonderful week. And if I don't talk to you before then, have a wonderful weekend. But I plan to be here before Valentine's Day. Um, know that I care about all of you. You matter to me. If you wonder how I'm doing, if you want to ask me something, feel free to email me. I do try to check my email. I'm not the greatest at checking my email when I'm not feeling good, but I do try to check it at least daily. Might be every other day. I did not check it yesterday because of the whole ER, and when I came home, I was just ready to lay down, and I put a movie on and watched a movie that I've been wanting to watch for a while. So that's what I did. Um, After I put my post together for the Secret Valentine, because I had to get it up so that we have time to do everything before Monday. So, again, matter to me. And if you need anything, send me an email. And remember, you're beautiful. I know I have a hard time remembering that, especially right now when I'm feeling so terrible. But I look at myself in the mirror and I remind myself that even though I may not feel that I'm beautiful, my daughter always tells me I'm beautiful and that I'm gorgeous. And that I need to feel the gorgeous woman inside of me. So that's one reason why I remind you guys that you are beautiful and gorgeous. And for any men who might be watching, you are so handsome. Don't ever forget that, because others may not think so, but you are, because to the people who love you and that you love, you are extremely, extremely gorgeous and beautiful in their eyes. And you are to me too. So, with that, I will talk to you later. And like I said earlier, have a great day, have a great week, and see you.